The old Rav Krushka succumbs to illness, while delivering a sermon on free will to his Orthodox Jewish congregation in North London. Ronit, the Rav's estranged daughter who lives and works in New York City as a photographer, returns to London. Ronit arrives at the home of her childhood friend, Dovid Cooperman, a chosen disciple of her father, as members of her father's congregation pay their respects to the deceased. Ronit fails to fit in, behaving in a manner that does not conform to Orthodox culture. Despite his surprise at Ronit's visit, Dovid insists she stays with him. Ronit is surprised to discover that Esti, a childhood friend of both, is now Dovid's wife. Ronit and her two friends attend Shabbat dinner at Ronit's uncle's house. Ronit asks her uncle about selling the house, but he says they cannot discuss business on the Sabbath. One of the guests tells Ronit that she should get married because it is what should be done. Ronit says that if she had stayed, she probably would have been married off, but she would have been suicidal. She leaves to walk home, joined by Dovid and Esti, and talk about her father. Ronit visits her uncle Moshe at his office to discuss the disposition of her father's house. However, she discovers her father has left all his possessions in the synagogue and is only allowed inside to retrieve personal items. Esti accompanies her, and after they reminisce about their memories of the rabbi's house, Esti tenderly kisses Ronit, who initially resists before reciprocating. Esti confesses to having asked Ronit to be notified of her father's death, out of a desire to see her again. Based on the rabbi's advice and strong belief in Hashem, Esti reveals her unhappiness with her life choices. After being caught in a romantic affair resulting in Ronit's departure from the community, neither Ronit nor Esti have been with other women. While Ronit is bisexual, Esti admits that she is a lesbian. On the way home, they stop at a nearby park and kiss on an empty tennis court but are spotted by a couple from the congregation. Esti walks away unseen, but the couple identifies Ronit and suspects that the other woman is Esti, despite Ronit's unconvincing denial. The next day, Esti, a teacher at the local Jewish school, is called into the headmistress' office after the couple delivers a complaint about Esti and Ronit's behavior. Dovid is asked to take over the rabbi's duties at the synagogue. He is warned about Ronit but insists that he keeps his house in order. Meanwhile, Ronit tells a shaken Esti that she is leaving the next day. The two sneak away to a hotel room in central London to spend some time together. Esti tells Ronit that she thinks of her often, imagining her New York apartment and keeping track of the time difference. Esti brings up the memory of the Rav walking in on them when they were young girls. Ronit says she regrets never taking his portrait. Ronit then tells Esti that she wants to take her picture. Esti is initially shy but poses with Ronit's cigarette. Esti arrives home late and turns down Dovid when he tries to initiate intimacy. The next morning Esti feels sick. Later that morning, Dovid informs Esti that Mrs. Shapiro has made a formal complaint, and he asks her to tell him the truth. Esti confesses that she kissed Ronit and expresses her feelings. Still, Dovid tells her that Ronit is taking advantage of her. Esti denies this and says that she wanted this to happen, causing Dovid to leave. Ronit overhears the argument and suggests that Esti should go to Dovid. At dinner that night, Ronit announces that she has booked a flight and is leaving without hearing the eulogy, to Esti's dismay. That night, after Dovid falls asleep, Esti goes to a drugstore and purchases a pregnancy test. Later in a hotel room, she begins shuckling against a cabinet and crying. The following day, Ronit is about to board her flight when Dovid calls her and reports that Esti is missing. Ronit and Dovid spend the day looking for Esti. They return to his home at night to find Esti already there. She reveals that she is pregnant, but asks for her freedom from Dovid by stating she wants to give her unborn child a chance to decide whether or not to be part of their community. Dovid leaves upset. Ronit and Esti attend the Rav's eulogy, which is to be given by Dovid in front of the entire congregation. After the opening of Zemarat, Ronit invites Esti to come live with her in New York. Dovid begins to speak but is unable to follow his prepared text. Instead, he reminds the congregation of the sermon the rabbi delivered on the freedom to choose right before he died. Under the guise of addressing the congregation, he releases Esti from their marriage. He then publicly turns down the offer of becoming the congregation's new spiritual guide. Esti finds him outside, and they embrace. Dovid motions for Ronit to join in their embrace, finally reconciling their old friendship. The following day, Ronit departs for New York, warmly bidding Dovid and Esti goodbye. As Ronit's cab is driving away, Esti chases after Ronit and gives her a final kiss, and they confess their love for each other. Ronit tells Esti she will be a brilliant mother, and they promise to keep in touch. Ronit detours her father's grave to bid him a final goodbye, and take a picture of his grave.